What is going on, guys? My name is Lextasy. Welcome back to the channel, and today I have a super cool video for you. It has to do with this 2014 Porsche 911 Turbo that's got 800 horsepower. Now, why are we looking at this car? Well, because the market on these stock is about $100,000 or less. So today we're going to be answering the question, is this the next affordable supercar that you can buy for $100,000 or so, modify it, have fun with it, and be reliable? So we're going to go over all the specs of this car, all the modifications. We're going to get it on the road and really press that gas pedal because I'm excited to compare this to my Audi R8 V10 twin turbo. And we're going to talk about, well, the reliability and the depreciation of these cars, because anytime you mention a supercar, you usually lose 30 to 40% of your value within a few years of ownership. So let's go ahead and get it going. So first things first, guys, you have to say it correctly, because if you don't, you're going to get in a lot of trouble with the Porsche owners. It's not Porsche, it's Porsche. And the reason I know that is because, well, the first time I ever come up to a guy in a Porsche Panamera at a gas station, I tried to give him a compliment and he stopped me with his hand up and said, "Let me stop you right there. This is a Porsche, not a Porsche." And I walked away, got in my car because, well, it was embarrassing and I felt like a poor peasant. So first things first, make sure you say it correctly. But anyways, this is a 2014 Porsche 911 Turbo with 520 horsepower, 487 foot-pounds of torque. This thing from factory can do 0 to 60 in 2.8 seconds. Why? Well, because it's a rear engine vehicle, which means the engine is mounted behind the rear axle, unlike my R8, which is a mid-engine and it's mounted in front of the rear axle, which makes a big difference because with the rear engine vehicle, your 0 to 60 or your acceleration times are going to be always insane, but then you also will have that oversteer. Now, that awesome 3.8 liter twin turbo engine is actually mounted to a 7-speed PDK transmission, giving this thing that instant dual clutch shifts, that crisp shifts that we're all used to whenever you drive a GTR or an R8 or any of the exotics, because, well, obviously this is an exotic. It's insane to think how much research and development actually went into building this 911 Turbo. First off, it's got rear steering, which basically means the rear axle will actually turn with the depending what the front axle is doing or the front steering is doing. So below 31 miles an hour, it actually does the opposite. So if those wheels are turned to the left, these are actually turned to the right, and you can actually see it a little bit how it's torqued to the right side, which is crazy to help you in those low speed maneuvers. Now, anything over 49 miles an hour, it will actually turn with the same way as the wheel. So if those are turned to the driver's side, so will the rear ones turn to the driver's side to help you with handling and turning on those high-speed maneuvers that you're doing at the track totally, and not on the road or anything like that. It also has active aero, which is awesome, and it blew me away the first time I've seen it. You see this front lip or front spoiler, whatever you want to call it, at speeds of about 90 kilometers an hour or 55 miles per hour. This spoiler actually comes out and it kind of twists out from underneath the car, and it pops up to give you better downforce. Now, you also have a button on the center console that you can press to manually override the front lip if you want it out during low speeds, or if you want to retract it if you're going over a speed bump or something like that and you don't want to completely destroy this front lip, because, well, I'd love to know how much that bad boy costs. You also got active aero in the back, so the rear spoiler will come up and down depending on how fast you're going. So over 55 miles an hour, it comes out, and in my opinion looks so sick because it's so flush when it is down. It looks like just a single spoiler, and then as soon as you increase speed, it automatically raises itself. It's just crazy how they thought of everything to make this car have extreme downforce and obviously be able to maneuver. Let's go ahead and look at the motor of this thing, because this car is modified to 800 wheel horsepower on E85 and meth. That's right, this thing has a meth tank, and when you look at the motor, you're going to realize, well, you can't see the motor. How sad is that? The Porsche literally covers everything up, so if you have any issues with the car, you have to go to a Porsche dealer to get it worked on. Now, what's crazy is this car was actually owned by the Fab Speed exhaust company that makes one of the best sounding exhaust systems out there, especially for a 911 Turbo car. So they did a lot of work. Then it was taken to Speed by Designs, where they finished the build and got it to 850 wheel horsepower on E85 and meth. So it's got turbos, it's got intercooler work done, downpipes, full exhaust system. So when Speed by Designs got a hold of this car, they actually finished the full build. So this thing has upgraded turbos, intercooler, downpipe, full exhaust, including the Snow Performance methanol injection kit, which I'm going to show you right now. It's located in the front, which is, well, the only place you can actually put anything in these cars whenever the engine is all the way in the rear. God, I love that Porsche emblem there. But when we pop this here, as you can tell, there's a Fab Speed bracket as well. So this thing is ready to go. Now, the new owner, and special thank you to you, Binkley, for letting me borrow this car and have some fun with with it. He has not done meth yet on it, but he has had Speed by Designs, their tuner, look at the car, because when he purchased it, he moved it to a different elevation here in the mountains, and we have 93 fuel, and the car got a full approval from Speed by Designs for being super healthy and ready to go. And did I mention this thing only has 15,000 miles? Somebody literally put all the work into this car, got bored of it, and sold it. A 2014 with 15,000 miles, and I gotta say, this is one of the cleanest 911 turbos I've seen out in the wild, and I cannot wait to get on the road. Now, before we get on the road, let's talk about the interior, because I personally love this thing. I think it came a long way. Keep in mind, this is a 9-year-old Porsche, and it looks this good. Look at the carbon fiber accents in here. Now, I know some people are gonna say, well, you got those empty buns there, man, so you got the pour option, that one, but this is as much as you can actually fit on the Porsche 911. It's even got the sunroof as well, which is a stupid expensive option. And I love how they put the meth injection gauge there instead of the analog clock that you get from Porsche. So it's still subtle. You wouldn't even know what that is unless you really paid attention to it, and we figured out in the photos of the dealership that was selling it. And then I love this 5-gauge pod that you got going here. That's just a standard Porsche look. I hate that you still have to put a key in here, but keep in mind, this is a 9-year-old car. God, and it sounds so good. Look at that, 15,000 original miles. By the way, guys, if you want to see me compare this to my twin turbo R8, since both cars are modified, since both, well, I would say they're in a low $100,000 range depending on the mileage, it would be good to compare them and see which one is the better option. So if you want to see that video, comment down below and let me know, and I'd love to do that as well. I'm pretty sure he let me borrow it again for you know, a real comparison with some performance numbers. Oh God, oh God. Oh, Jesus Christ. That was not supposed to happen. All right, well, you know, by the time I went to pull out slowly, I was not doing, okay, yeah, well, all right, well, that's one way to exit the parking lot, and you can, because, well, this thing is modified and it's all-wheel drive. But I gotta say, I made the right choice putting this shirt on, man. This dress shirt feels like I can drive this Porsche now. I own it, and I feel like my bank account balance probably increased as well just because I got in this car. Dude, this thing is crazy. I'm still recovering from what just happened there. I probably should think that I'm a good driver, but that lady was hauling butt on this back road. First things first, seating. I'm a big dude. I'm 230 pounds, 6'3", 6'2", fine, that's fine, whatever, it's the same thing. And I gotta say, the bowstring feels really, really good on this car. And obviously the leather is real leather, so you're comfortable. Is it R8 comfort-wise? I would say about the same, honestly. It does feel good. Steering feels good as well. Man, this car is just like, you get in it and you can tell just everything about it is on a different level when it comes to quality and how it drives. Now, this is a 6-cylinder, obviously, so in my mind, I'm comparing it to my V10, which is a massive motor, but sometimes that massive motor kind of gets in the way of being able to actually enjoy a car. What do I mean by that? When you have such a big motor that's modified, that exhaust is pushing out 10 cylinders worth of just sound. So much sound that on the highway, or if I was doing 47 miles an hour, it's quite honestly obnoxious, but that's something to be expected, and quite honestly, you should know what you're getting yourself into when you buy this car. This one with the Fab Speed exhaust sounds good, it sounds crisp. Now, here's what I love about this car. We are in normal mode. This is just standard mode, eco mode, whatever you want to call it. The tuning is so good on this car by Speed by Designs. Watch what happens when I press the sport button. I'm in 5th gear doing 50. 4th gear, 50, but I'm at almost 3,000 RPMs now, and it ramps up power. Whew. Dude, it sounds like a gunshot going off out of a 6-cylinder, man. Like, oh man, that crackle, hello. Now let's do that in reverse. I'm doing 50 miles an hour in 3rd gear at about 3,800 RPM. I press the button to get out of sport. 5th gear, 1,500 RPM, just like that. And the car feels completely different. The tuning, I can't say it enough, and it's extremely important whenever you modify a car, is on point. Like, it's done so good that you don't even realize that you're driving in the modified 911 turbo. I hate getting into a car where they're like, oh yeah, man, eco mode and sport mode or track mode are completely separate. You press the button, it does absolutely nothing. Yeah, the RPMs will drop a little bit, but the car drives like trash the whole time. Not in this 911 turbo. I gotta say, man, I've driven a stock 911 turbo really driven one at a test drive at a dealership, and you know what? It drives almost the same until you really get past, I would say, 70% throttle, and then the car realizes like, oh, you want all of it, and here you go. So be ready for it. And since it's an all-wheel drive, you can't really screw it up. Now here's the crazy part. This car around the Nürburgring is actually faster than the Pagani Zonda, Maserati MC12, and the Lamborghini Aventador, the 2013 through 2014 model, a V12 with 700 horsepower. This thing kills them on the track. Here's the downside. So right, you're talking about let's say $120,000 911 turbo. That's like, wow, man, that blows your mind. But it's actually slower than a C7 Z06 or a Camaro ZL1, which is kind of like, what? Because those cars are not over $100,000. In fact, probably half that price. Now, one more thing I want to mention before I forget, this PDK dual clutch transmission feels a lot more quicker shifts than even my V10 R8. Like it feels like it's on a different quality level. I don't know how to describe it. I'm not bashing my car. I love my car, don't get me wrong, but it's different how it shifts. It's different than how the GTR shifts. Obviously different transmissions, but what I mean by that is just instant crisp shifts. And I don't know how to describe the crisp part, but you got to drive one to know what I mean. Just compare those cars. Or if you have a Lamborghini Huracan, or if you have a GTR, go test drive a 911 turbo. I'm gonna promise you, you're gonna feel different about this cars if you're not a big Porsche guy, or if you are, you're probably gonna sell your car and get one of these. I gotta say, that was a lot of fun, and Porsches are starting to really grow on me. Now, I know a lot of you are gonna say, well, Alex, you're talking about, hey, these cars are affordable, you can get them below $100,000, but you're driving a modified 911 Turbo S. I promise you, even the stock ones that can run 0 to 60 in less than 3 seconds are enough to get started as your first Porsche, because once you get to this power level, you have to be ready for it, even though it's an all-wheel drive. And now let's talk about the most important part of buying a supercar, an exotic car, and that is, well, reliability and depreciation. Usually depreciation and buying a supercar is not a good combo, because most exotics depreciate about 30% in the first 1 to 2 years of ownership, not on the Porsche 911. So something that I do when I purchase a car, doesn't matter if it's an exotic or just a regular car, is I go on Google and I type in Porsche 911 price trends. It is an awesome feature or an app that's done by car gurus, and it shows you the actual year over year or the last 90-day depreciation of any vehicle, any make, any model, any year. Porsche's 911, not even turbos, just the basic 911s in the last year over year have only depreciated about 7%. I know a lot of people gonna be like, well, that can't be right, but I promise you it is, because here's the thing. MSRP on this car was around $200,000. 9 years later, they're still selling for right around $100,000. So they depreciated 50%-ish in 9 years instead of 50% in 3 years. So I'm telling you, 911 is a really good way to go. And the next important part of owning a 911 turbo is obviously maintenance, because you're buying a Porsche. So a lot of people expect a lot of things to fail, a lot of electrical things to go wrong. So did I, because that's one thing that, you know, when I hear Porsche, I'm like, man, I have an Audi and I know how bad things get. Porsche has got to be worse. I'll be completely honest with you guys. I looked through so many consumer review websites, whether it was Edmunds, Car Gurus, any other ones I could find. I couldn't find any issues with this. The reviews were exceptionals on a 9-year-old 911 turbo. The only bad reviews I got was 2 out of 46, and it was somebody talking about their PDKs was being a little clunky. It's a dual clutch transmission. It's gonna clunk sometimes. Just from driving it for the last few hours, I have truly enjoyed this car to the point that it's like, man, what do I do? Would I purchase one of these for $100,000? And you know what? I want to know your opinion. What do you guys think? Comment down below. Would you pick one up, or what else do you have in mind that you would grab for that kind of money, for that amount of performance? Because honestly, $100,000 to run 0 to 60 in less than 3 seconds, I promise you, is really hard to do without doing a lot of modifications once you buy the car. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed this video. I enjoyed filming it. This was a lot of fun. Thank you, Binkley, for allowing me to borrow your car. Honestly, I think if I could use just one word to describe this car, it would be refined. This car is so exceptionally well done with suspension, with the power and the balance, the performance on it. It almost feels like it's numb, like to the point that it just feels like you can't wreck this car, and it's going to take a lot of effort to do so, with the rear steering, with the way it puts the power down. Even though it's a rear engine vehicle, which are known to be good in acceleration, not so good in cornering, it does better than my mid-engine R8 from what I personally felt here. And quite honestly, if I didn't have an R8, I probably would grab a 911 Turbo S. Stock or modified, it doesn't matter. But thank you guys so much for watching. Comment down below, let me know what you think of this car. Would you drive it? What would you buy for $100,000? And I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.